Welcome back, guys. I'm Captain Foley,
I am Connor Collins.
and today we're talking about a new ship. We got a new ship in Season 4, Episode 3 of Discovery, and we're excited. We'd like to talk about it.
And it's a bit bizarre, Stuart.
And why is it a bit bizarre?
Well, they gave us like 9 in the first part, like in Season 3. So they had plenty
None
to
of
choose
which
from.
this is.
Yeah, they've got a new one. I wonder if they thought, Trekyards, let's give them something new. Because what a now this is without going into the detail of it yet, but what a pleasant surprise when it just rolls in and we're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's a new one. That was my instant reaction.
And no detached nacelles. I think they kind of heard the fans kind of complaining about that. So this is like an older ship, maybe. And it's the USS Credence. USS Credence Clearwater Revival. Wait, no, that's wrong. Just want to hear it play CCR over top of this footage. Anyway.
So we'll go first reaction, then we'll go into all the pictures which I've AI enhanced, I've cleaned up, I've brightened, because it is, dark on dark. What was your just pure first reaction?
I loved it. I thought it felt like a dreadnought almost. It looked like it had a third nacelle. Unfortunately, I think it's only 2 nacelles. Just seeing it come in and seeing that cut off front nose, it felt like the freighter, the TOS freighter almost, with that squared off front section, which was kind of a neat twist. Plus, it doesn't have a super white hull color. So I saw it and I'm like, oh, I love it. New ship right away, right off the hop. And I was just excited. That started up the episode fantastic, put me in a good mood. So loved it.
And we are going to talk about the interiors tomorrow, so we're just going to completely ignore those for today because they're a whole separate thing. My first reaction was, I really liked it. It was definitely trying to be closer. Like they pulled the aesthetic back a lot further to where it would be, to a more classical aesthetic, while still maintaining a lot of what they did. In more detailed analysis from looking at this while doing the photoshopping, it's a whole different mentality than the other ones. I'm really intrigued by the logic. But the first render here, obviously, is the first time we see it. And I'll say the first thing that stood out to me here, in sort of detailed look, is that while I do like it, I think they've misunderstood a few things about ship design. Every single square inch of the room of the saucer is windows, spread apart. Every single inch, and of the second ring too. Why are there 500 rooms? Windows are kind of specific and they're kind of spaced, not randomly, but there's a certain thing. But the entire rim is just open windows.
Yeah. Maybe there's 4 per quarter, like quarters. So.
Because it gives a sense of they were given a shape and they said give detail, and so they just cut windows into the entire thing. I love the fact that most of them aren't on as multicolored. I think that looks so good. But when you look, it's like the entire room is windows, and it looks really like lazy and fan.
I kind of like the look, actually. I kind of agree with you at the same time, but at the same time, I really like the look. I can imagine that. Yeah, even in TNG, one of the quarters had like 2 windows, and then 2 windows over here. So just a wall of windows would be cool. But yeah,
it just doesn't make too much sense Trek aesthetic, but it kind of gives its own unique aesthetic.
Yeah, it's just using the feature.
Yeah, but it's so different to the other ships as well. It is. So what do you pull from this first picture then? What do you see?
It's hard to tell where nacelles are because there are things that look like nacelles that have bizarre collectors on the front, or at least red colors. Yet we also have the blue glows of the warp grills on the top and bottom ones. So I would assume those are the warp nacelles. The other ones could just be bizarre collectors and not nacelles. It's kind of hard to say because we didn't get another look at it, really, another angle.
And I have got the answer for you at the end picture, but we'll wait until we get this, Stuart, just for ha. No, it's definitely it feels so dense and yet lovely and connected. Would you agree it has a massively more Discovery Season 1 vibe in terms of texturing, shape, structure for this first render specifically? Like it's harkening...
Texturing, yes, and shape. Yes, absolutely. It does feel like a Discovery era design.
But still a bit more futuristic. But I do think they've kind of said, well, let's just make a classic, but our classic is Discovery, so we're not going to use like a Nemesis-style saucer because that's, who cares? We're going to do Discovery-esque. So it has a lot more Discovery influence, as in Discovery art design, John Eves. I'm not against that per se. It might be implying it's like a 150-year-old design. Still wouldn't make any sort of sense. Or is it a brand new design they've designed because they'd say, oh, we like Discovery's art design, let's make new based off Discovery. Chicken or the egg, because this might be one of the first new ships. I mean, if it's been sent out as part of the courier fleet to give fuel to Lithium, it could be one of their newest, fastest ships at warp, fresh off the production line.
Yeah, I kind of got the sense it was an older ship, though. Like, it should have been almost better to have a captain's log saying, and just before we go back to Archer space dock for our refit, we're doing one last delivery. You know, kind of gets that feeling because, yeah, it almost feels like an older design, especially with the hull texturing. So,
yeah, it's a weird one. So the next picture, though, you get to see a lot of that. I mean, that looks like almost a Discovery saucer when you sort of look from this perspective. Fully flat, so no native space, top and bottom. So instantly it's like, well, that's harkening to Discovery. And yet with a kind of a shuttle bay bulk, but not with just generic plate lined. It's odd.
Yeah, the texturing back there is weird too. It's kind of like a swirly pattern, almost like some kind of poured metal or something. But yeah, it does look like a big hangar bay. Like this is reminiscent of some facet designs, like the Burke, I believe, or the Cheyenne, which has like large shuttle bay hangars. So
well, it makes sense. It was a cargo-esque ship, because if the entire saucer parts are literally all inhabited space, which is what it looks like. I mean, there's hundreds of windows, and then 6 on the secondary hull. that tells me there's a big cargo mainframe infrastructure, which I'm actually it kind of works. It would have been nice to have a few things. It would have been nice to have some side like doors with lights, so maybe some side shuttle bays, maybe pull the Discovery shuttle bay.
Side shuttle bays would be good, yeah.
I think that would have really set this up a bit more. But I kind of like the different shapes. It kind of works for me.
Or even just a Starfleet pennant. Like, I don't know why they are so afraid of pennants. Just put one on.
There is one on the Nog. But it's like scales hard here because you've got tiny windows, giant windows, and medium windows. I have no idea what to go by, you know. It's 4 decks, but what are 4 decks at this point? But this third picture, though, you can see conclusively it does have nacelles that are the 31st century. You can see that the top and bottom blue-lined thing is connected, but to the left and right, the Bassards, the ones Bassards, they are separate, and it's got 2 underneath it, like big like legs on a biplane. So it has got 4 very similar nacelles. They're obviously just rescaled versions of the same detail, give or take. So it's got 4 different separated nacelles and 2 connected ones.
It's hard to tell if the ones on the side of the secondary hull are actually connected or not, though. With this shot, they could have a strut in there.
I mean, based on the previous shots, I doubt it. I've sort of looked at them, so I'd say they're whatever. But I mean, what do you think? Now that's the logic.
I don't know. Not having the blue glows on the actual detached nacelle parts is bothersome.
But that's why it kind of links the Discovery vibe, because that rim is on the Discovery, or at least the original Discovery, and I think the new one too. So that makes you think it's older. Maybe there's retrofitted the new detachable nacelles on the sides. But then you're looking at like hundreds and hundreds of year old ships, because everything else easily feels like Discovery era. But they're not nacelles, but maybe they're transwarp nacelles, you know, dedicated for something else. The other nacelles we've seen for the fleet have Bassards, have whatever. But yeah, 2 different types of, you know, glowing long units.
I'm not the hugest fan of the detached nacelles. I don't hate them. I understand why they're doing them. I think it's a cool looking ship. I want to see some orthos of it though, to really get a better feel for it.
It's so dense. It's so bulky, but not. And if you know, you can see the impulse engines, which are great. But there's a hole in the saucer, which in a few frames you see a red reflection, which implies they're impulse, the kind of Filk impulse. But every other frame they're not. So I assume they're, because it's you can see there's a hole. So I assume it's a shuttle bay of sorts as well.
Yeah, it does look like that.
Which I kind of like. It gives me very much the Nemoidian battleship from Star Wars, you know, going in the side pods. Kind of gives that vibe.
One thing that threw me, though, honestly, and this is on the last picture, actually, you got that squared off front, which I like, but the registry number is, 2804 by the looks of it.
Or 2604, yeah.
Yeah, and it's also the TOS styled font for the nacelle font, and I don't know if I like that. I of course I like it. I think it looks great. It looks like a TOS ship, but it shouldn't look like that, you know. I do like that font for the registry, but it's an odd choice for number as well as font choice. Like it feels like this is an old ship, like a very old ship,
like 800-year-old ship.
It almost feels like that.
An antique, like because of how squared off it is. Like it's even more bulky. It feels like a Discovery era, like pre-Shenzhou.
Yeah.
I mean, if it kind of needs a dash A, B, C, or D, because that registry makes no sense in any way. Like, I think that's just a mistake. I mean, even if you look at it, like the way the 2 and the 6 are, or the 8, it kind of looks like the texturing maybe isn't finished. It's like little blobs, as if maybe they meant to put more numbers and they kind of hadn't turned them on and off in the Photoshop. And because I mean, it's only in for a few frames and you can kind of zoom in to see it.
The other thing that makes it seem older in design is that the spine down the middle that kind of comes to a point at the front. That almost feels like a Battlestar Galactica feature, like original Battlestar Galactica, or some kind of older ship design aesthetic. It doesn't seem very sleek. But I don't have a problem with it.
Also got phasable turrets, that last picture.
Yes. Yep. And one thing I do really appreciate, though, is the different, like, it looks like it has interiors in those windows, which, because it's got the different colors, it looks like there's stuff going on in there, which I think is cool.
Which it doesn't, obviously, they're just coloured plates. But yeah, it gives it a real vibe that the other ones haven't had. Although, like, most of them are off. It's a lot of wasted empty space. But if you have that many windows, it's like you can't have them all on or off. But if you're going to go back to the third picture again, I do kind of think... Well, you can see the saucer isn't connected. That's a negative space saucer, or it's like only connected on the top and the bottom. Like it is... There's a whole... I honestly think it's probably an unused Discovery Season 1 concept that they added nacelles onto, because everything about it except the new nacelles screams Discovery Season 1. The lack of polygon detail, the bold, the broad shapes, there was no physical detail of any kind, the massive overuse of windows, the lack of just detail at all, the registry, everything here screams Discovery Season 1, just unused, and they just sort of F it, will throw some of themselves. It's confusing, because it's now in the wrong era. And, sorry, the ships that are 900 years old aren't in service right now. That's insanity. Like, you know, even the J wouldn't necessarily be in existence, like the 600-year-old one. So it's real weird. At least they should have repainted it to have the clean whites of the future ships. That would have helped.
This is not copper.
Well, yeah, that's true. So if you look at that first picture, the bottom nacelle, it almost looks as if there is a lip, and inside there'll be like 2 little Bassard domes, like on Discovery. Kind of gives me that vibe. Which they hid if that's the case, but I definitely think this is a reuse asset that they did. It's pulled out a mothball and didn't think to change it very much.
But I'm still happy with it. It's great seeing new ships. Please show us more. We even saw the new Constitution class style outside the window in pretty good view. Like,
which doesn't feel anything like this ship. Like, you can tell they're not at all close in terms of design and whatnot. It's it's weird, but I like it. That's pretty good for Discovery. That's pretty good for Discovery.
I like it too. This is going to be an Eagle Moss model I want to get, honestly.
And we'll say, there's no physical detail at all. None. They got away with nothing, as they tend to do. But join us tomorrow to look at the interiors.
Interiors, yes.
Got some graphics.
Yeah. And to make sure you don't miss that, subscribe, obviously, notify yourself, and comment down below what you thought about this ship. What era do you think it's from? How old do you think it is? Is it a reuse asset? Let us know your thoughts.
And if you want to support what we do and these sorts of graphical enhancements, and, you know, we did the Deca computer enhance, magnify, zoom, you know, all that stuff for this. And please support us on Patreon monthly, joining the channel monthly on YouTube, PayPal directly at trekyards@hotmail.com. That helps too. Or super chatting during our lives. All are great ways and all do make a difference, because without that sort of support, we can't do this sort of stuff. And we want to keep doing it because so many new Trek shows. And you know what we're here for, guys. So if you can, please do. If you can't, just keep viewing and say hi.
Mm-hmm. So until next time, he's Commander Cockings.
He's Captain Foley.
We'll see you guys later. Engage.